The lights inside Earth's orbital command flickered under the weight of silence. Commander Rourke stood alone in the war room, eyes locked on the central display screen. The image of the Galactic Council's hall filled the screen, wide, shining, and full of alien delegates from across the stars. At the center stood Ambassador Lee, Earth's finest diplomat, wearing the pale blue robes of peace. But something was wrong. Rourke could see it in Lee's eyes. The ambassador wasn't welcomed. He was surrounded. The Galactic Council had gathered for what they called a discussion on Earth's position in the galaxy. Humanity had believed it was a step toward respect, even friendship. What they got instead was a trap. The Supreme Speaker, a tall insectoid alien with glowing eyes and golden armor, raised one claw and laughed. "Let the humans speak, if they know how," the speaker said, his voice dripping with contempt. The crowd of delegates roared with laughter. A few slammed their hands on the table. One even threw a small object at Lee's feet. Lee stood firm. "Humanity came in peace," he said calmly. "We came to be heard, not mocked." But they didn't stop. One delegate, a brute from the Varnic Empire, stepped forward, yanked the microphone from Lee's hands, and shoved him back. The crowd cheered again. Rourke's fists clenched. Behind him, officers watched in stunned silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Then the screen shifted. The council's camera zoomed in, too close. It focused on Lee's face as another delegate smeared dark slime across his chest, a Varnac symbol of weakness. The feed didn't cut. It broadcast live to every allied species, every station, every colony. Rourke could hear murmurs behind him. His officers were shocked, angry. One younger officer whispered, "Why aren't we doing something?" Rourke didn't answer. He simply turned away from the screen and walked toward the command podium. His voice, when he spoke, was cold steel. "Send the footage to the president, all of it, no edits." The room moved like a machine waking from sleep. Orders were shouted, files transmitted, but Rourke wasn't done. "Tell the 7th Fleet to prepare for reactivation. I want full readiness in 24 hours. The officer blinked. "Sir, that's a war order." Rourke looked at the young man. His expression didn't change. So be it. Far below, on Earth, the footage spread like fire. News networks ran the clip on repeat. Crowds gathered. Protests began. Not against aliens, but against Earth's own government. People demanded justice. On the second day, Ambassador Lee returned. He was silent, his face bruised, his uniform torn. He didn't speak to reporters. He didn't wave. He just walked down the ramp and disappeared into a waiting vehicle. At midnight, the emergency council met. The president, old and tired, sat at the head of the table. His voice was slow, shaken. "We believed they wanted peace. We were wrong, Commander." Rourke stood behind him. "They see our kindness as weakness," Rourke said. "They mocked us in front of every species. They want us silent, afraid." Someone asked, "What do we do now?" Rourke looked them each in the eye. "We stopped being nice." In the days that followed, something changed across Earth's military. Quiet orders were given. Black ships with no names left hidden hangars. Elite teams, trained for the worst but never used, were activated. They called it Protocol Ignis, a fire born from ashes. Commander Rourke oversaw it all. He visited the orbital barracks, where the 77th Commando Division, codenamed Black Echo, was preparing. Inside, Sergeant Vega stood at attention. Tall, scarred, and deadly calm. "Sir," she said. "Orders?" Rourke handed her a datapad. "Council Fuel Station, Sector D9. You're going to make sure it explodes." Vega nodded once. "They won't see it coming." Rourke didn't smile. But there was something sharp in his eyes, like a storm building. "Good, make it loud." On the council's side, confusion spread. Security officers argued. Delegates denied involvement. Some claimed the footage was altered or misunderstood. But the damage was done. Species that once ignored humanity were watching. Some whispered in secret channels, "Maybe Earth isn't so weak." Then it happened. Without warning, one of the Council's largest fuel hubs, an unmanned space station holding enough power to fuel 30 warships, vanished in a bright, silent explosion. No one took credit, but those who watched the slow-motion replay noticed something. In the final seconds before the explosion, a tiny logo flickered across the station's hull, briefly visible, like a ghost. The Earth flag, black and silver. Back on Earth, Commander Rourke watched the news in silence. The alien anchors were panicked. The Council called it an accident, but he knew better. They knew better. In a dark room, Rourke spoke to the President again. They expected us to apologize, he said. Now they're waiting for us to stop. But we're just getting started. The President didn't argue. What's next? Rourke leaned forward. Let them fear us for once. At the edge of known space, Sergeant Vega and her team waited in silence aboard a cloaked gunship. They weren't resting. They weren't celebrating. They were waiting for the next name on the list. And in the Galactic Council chambers, the Supreme Speaker stared at a screen showing Earth's flag. He'd seen humans as insects. Now he wasn't so. Sure, humanity had tried peace. Now, they were ready for war. The stars above Earth no longer looked peaceful. High above the planet, dozens of stealth ships hovered like shadows. They had no names, no lights, and no broadcasting signals. To most sensors, they didn't exist. Inside one of them, Ghost Viper 1, Commander, Rourke stood with his arms crossed, watching 3 black-clad commandos suit up. Their armor was silent, matte, and reinforced with rare metals Earth had been collecting in secret for decades. Sergeant Vega snapped her helmet on and looked at him. Target confirmed? Rourke nodded. Council Fuel Hub 9X, deep space, no civilian activity. We hit it. We disappear. Vega gave a slight grin. Permission to make it loud? Granted. Down in the war room, Earth's top generals stood in a circle watching a 3D hologram of the Council-controlled sectors. Red marks appeared in a slow pattern, fuel depots, signal relays, listening stations. None of them were armed. All of them were critical. We don't go after civilians, Rourke had said earlier. We don't become them. But we will take away their power. Slowly, precisely, brutally. They called it Operation Vengeance, and tonight, it would begin. Sergeant Vega's ship slipped through the edge of Sector D9 like a ghost through fog. The Council hub floated quietly in the dark, 5 towers glowing with soft blue fuel. There were no guards. Why would there be? The Council didn't believe Earth had the strength, or the will, but that was before. The team moved in zero gravity, floating toward the hub with magnetic boots and cold determination. Vega held up 2 fingers. Her squad split and planted explosives in under 5 minutes. We're clear, whispered her second-in-command Ramirez. Light it, Vega replied. The explosion bloomed without sound, just bright, brutal light. 1 second the hub was there, the next, gone. Nothing left but fire and vapor. Vega and her team were already gone, retreating into deep space before any sensors could detect them. At Galactic Council headquarters, chaos broke out. Alarms flashed in 30 languages. Delegates shouted at each other across the Great Hall. The explosion had been caught by a long-range mining drone. The footage showed something strange in the final moment. A flicker of movement. A small flag, Earth's black and silver eagle, scorched into one of the fuel towers. It wasn't an accident. The Supreme Speaker demanded answers. How could the humans do this? We control the jump gates. We watch their every move. One assistant, pale and shaking, replied quietly, Sir, maybe we weren't watching closely enough. Back on Earth, news of the successful hit wasn't made public. The people didn't cheer. They didn't even know. This wasn't a war for show. It was one built in silence. Strike by strike, cut by cut. Rourke stood in a secure command room with Earth's president and the Joint Command Council. This is how it begins, he said. We cripple their supply. We shake their belief that they're untouchable. And if they strike back, the president asked. They will, Rourke replied, and we'll be ready. Hours later, new orders were sent to the next fire teams. Strike Team Black Echo, destroy a council relay station in the Delcar Belt. Strike Team Ghost, Fang. Disable a comm satellite near Council borders. Strike Team Shadow Rain. Intercept an unmarked cargo vessel with Council weapons. No one would know Earth's hand, but the Council would feel the pain. Meanwhile, deep in the outer colonies, whispers spread. Small, neutral species, those often ignored by the Council, began to talk. Did you hear? Earth struck back. They say the humans destroyed a supply base without firing a single shot. Maybe the Council isn't as powerful as they seem. Rourke watched these rumors quietly. He didn't try to stop them. He let them grow. In a hidden training facility on Mars, new commandos were being trained faster than ever before. Veterans returned to duty. Engineers built new weapons, ships, and stealth armor. They weren't preparing for defense. They were preparing for war. One night, Rourke stood, alone in the observation deck, watching Earth spin below. He spoke into a secure recorder. They thought we'd kneel, that our silence meant fear. But they were wrong. We gave them every chance. Now we take every advantage. We will not be their servants. We will not be silent. From this point on, humanity plays by its own rules. He shut off the recorder. In the distance, another black ship disappeared into the stars, carrying another team into enemy territory. The silent war had begun, and Earth wasn't backing down. The explosion was seen from 5 light minutes away. Council Fuel Hub 9X, once a shining jewel of galactic logistics, was gone, vaporized in a silent, brutal flash. No survivors, no warning, no suspects. But one clue had been left behind, a blurred image, captured just before the fireball consumed the station. A black and silver flag, Earth's flag. Inside the Council's security chamber, panic echoed off every wall. Dozens of alien officials shouted over each other. Holograms showed the wreckage, twisted metal, melting towers, burning debris. For the first time in decades, fear had entered their voices. "We must retaliate," shouted a Varnak general, pounding his fist on the glass. "But Earth hasn't even claimed responsibility," said another. "We're assuming it was them." The Supreme Speaker raised one claw to silence the room. "You saw the mark," he said coldly. "This wasn't a pirate. It was a message." "Then what do?" The speaker narrowed his eyes. "We prepare for war." Far from the shouting chamber, inside a black warship drifting through uncharted space, Sergeant Vega sat silently, cleaning her sidearm. Her team had just returned. The mission was perfect, clean, fast, no casualties. Still, she didn't feel like celebrating. She felt like sharpening. The team medic, Harlan, spoke quietly. "You think they'll hit back?" Vega didn't look up. "They'll try." "You think Rourke wants that?" This time, Vega paused. "Rourke expects that." Commander Rourke stood once again in Earth's orbital command, watching another red dot blink on the galactic map. It was just the first one. "How did the Council respond?" asked General Cole, head of planetary defense. "They're rattled," Rourke replied. "They're holding emergency meetings. Their fleets are being recalled." "So we hit them again?" Rourke shook his head. "No, now we make them paranoid." He tapped the screen, marking 2 new targets. A small mining station supplying rare energy crystals. A deep space communication relay controlling data to 3 sectors. Both critical, both weakly defended, and neither of them expected Earth's hand. That night, Strike Team Ghost Fang deployed. They wore no insignias. Their ships had no heat signature. No one would see them coming. The mission was simple: destroy the relay and leave behind the same symbol, the Black Eagle of Earth. But the twist came during the return trip. As the ship warped away, they intercepted a scrambled alien transmission. Unknown attackers, possibly human origin. Orders from the speaker: prepare countermeasures. Commander Rourke listened to the recording from the safety of Earth's deep bunker. He said nothing for several moments. Then he turned to General Cole. "It begins on a Council outpost near the star Nero 7. A nervous alien technician was reading sensor data when he noticed something strange. 12 cargo drones had gone offline in perfect sequence, not destroyed, just dead. As if something had shut them down. No signals, no alarms, just silence. He ran the data 3 times, same result. I think the humans are inside our systems, he whispered to his supervisor. The supervisor laughed. That's impossible. Earth doesn't have that kind of tech. But deep down, he wasn't so sure. In the shadows of Earth's moon, a secret base buzzed with activity. Engineers worked around the clock on experimental weapons, railguns that could fire silently in space, EMP torpedoes that bypassed alien shields, and stealth suits that could pass through security barriers unseen. All of it built in secret. All of it tested in the void. Commander Rourke reviewed progress reports and gave the same answer every time. Speed up production. He wasn't preparing for one battle. He was preparing for all of them. Sergeant Vega was given a new target. The mission was different this time. It wasn't a fuel depot or comm tower. It was a meeting, a secret conference of mid-tier council members, held aboard a mobile space station that drifted in neutral territory. The mission? Crash it, no survivors, no trails, just fear. They struck at 0300 ship time. A breach pod slammed into the station's hull like a hammer. Vega's team poured in through the breach, quick, silent, efficient. They weren't there to talk. They weren't there to warn. One by one, the alien delegates were dropped. Their final screams never reached outside the station. Before leaving, Vega sprayed a single phrase onto the wall in bright white paint. This is your only warning. Then the pod launched back into the dark. The space station detonated 3 minutes later. The council called an emergency war summit. 25 species gathered. None of them had answers, only fear. How did Earth do this? One delegate asked. How are they moving so fast? They must have help. No, whispered another. They've just been waiting. The Supreme Speaker stood, arms raised high. Then we strike first. Hard. Now. Back on Earth, Rourke heard the news through his intelligence web. He sat quietly at his desk and stared at the galactic map. Red dots now spread across council territory. Weak points, cuts, bruises. He smiled. They haven't even seen our real strength yet. Behind him, a technician brought in a new report. Sir, the aliens hit one of our colonies. 50 civilians lost. Rourke's face turned cold. Where? Ramos 3, an agricultural settlement. He stood up slowly. Every officer in the room felt the shift. They've made it official, Rourke said. This isn't shadow war anymore. He pointed to the screen, to the very heart of council territory. Prepare the fleet. The rules had changed. Humanity had delivered the first blow. Now they were ready to bring the storm. Commander Rourke stood at the edge of the command bridge aboard the ESS Vindicator, Earth's most powerful battleship. Behind him, 10 more warships floated in formation, dark, armored, armed to the teeth. No lights, no signals, only silence. Until now. Begin broadcast, Rourke said. A comms officer tapped the control panel. A live transmission lit up across neutral systems, one the Galactic Council couldn't block. Rourke stepped into view. His face was sharp, voice calm, but his words carried weight like a blade. We asked for peace. You answered with mockery. We sent a diplomat. You humiliated him before the galaxy. You thought that would break us. But it forged us. From this moment forward, Earth no longer recognizes the authority of the Galactic Council. You wanted war. Now you've got one. The screen cut. Silence followed. Then, Earth's fleet jumped. 10 ships dropped out of warp above the Council military logistics ring in Sector 7A. It was heavily defended, but Earth wasn't interested in easy fights anymore. The Vindicator fired. The first shot, a railgun round the size of a truck, straight through the station's shield core. It pierced the hull like paper. Explosions followed, rippling through the structure like a chain of thunder. 3 squadrons of Earth's new Valkyrie-class interceptors swarmed the enemy fighters. Smaller, faster, and using jamming tech the Council had never seen. They shredded the enemy within minutes. On the ground, Task Force Orion, a team of elite commandos, stormed the Council base, disabling turrets, jamming reinforcements, and stealing data from enemy servers. They didn't stay long. They hit, they burned, they left. In just 27 minutes, the entire outpost was destroyed. In the aftermath, a drone camera drifted through the wreckage and picked up a signal. A single image broadcast across nearby systems. It showed Earth's Black Eagle burning in the background. Under it, the words, "We remember the insult." Inside the Council's Grand Hall, fear had turned to fury. They've declared open war. How did their weapons bypass our shields? They're growing faster than we predicted. The Supreme Speaker stood motionless at the center of the chaos, listening, thinking. Finally, he spoke. "Mobilize all fleets. Prepare full sanctions. No more trade. No more mercy." "Do we attack Earth?" "No," the Speaker replied. "Not yet. We destroy their outer colonies first. Make them hurt. Make them bleed." But what he didn't know was that Earth had already predicted this. Back on Earth, in a sealed war bunker below the Alps, Commander Rourke met with the Planetary Defense Council. Red dots blinked on the screen. Council fleets on the move. "They'll go for Ramos 4, then Bastion Station," General Cole said. "That's what they think," Rourke replied. "But we've already evacuated civilians and left something special behind." "What kind of special?" Rourke turned to the screen. A classified file opened. Project Shadowveil. Dozens of cloaked defense drones buried beneath the colony grounds, ready to activate. "Let them come," Rourke said. "Let them walk into the fire." On Ramos 4, a peaceful-looking farming world, 2 Council cruisers dropped from warp. Troops began deploying to the surface, expecting no resistance. But the moment they landed, the ground itself opened. Earth's trap was triggered. Hidden artillery platforms unfolded from under the soil. Hundreds of combat drones launched from nearby hills. Shockwaves tore through the landing ships before the aliens even set foot on the ground. The entire Council strike force was wiped out in under 10 minutes. No Earth soldiers were even there. Just cold, automated retribution. The message was clear. Earth was ready for this. Every strike, every base, every fleet. Planned, calculated, and anticipated. Humanity was no longer reacting. They were leading the war now. In the outer colonies, smaller species watched the growing firestorm with silent awe. The humans, they fight like no one else. They strike from shadows. They hit where it hurts. Some began to consider their alliances. Others began to whisper, maybe the Council isn't invincible after all. Back in deep space, Strike Team Phantom Blade boarded a Council supply freighter under stealth protocols. Inside, they found logs, secret plans for a Council superweapon designed to end Earth's resistance in a single strike. They downloaded everything, then left the ship with a final message carved into the wall. "You underestimated us. Now watch." As Phantom Blade's transmission reached Earth, Rourke stood quietly by the main screen, arms crossed, jaw tight. He spoke only one word: accelerate. Earth's greatest counterattack was now in motion. Something massive. Something final. The galaxy would never forget it, and the Council would never recover from it. In the deep cold of space, beyond the edge of Earth's known sectors, a massive shape stirred in the dark. It wasn't a ship, not in the traditional sense. It was a weapon, a machine, a titan. Its name, Project Goliath, Earth's answer to the Council's rumored superweapon, a city-sized dreadnought, invisible to scanners, powered by an artificial black hole core. For years it had been hidden, deep in the asteroid belt, unfinished and untested, until now. Commander Rourke stood before a sealed steel door as retinal scanners flashed over his face. Behind that door was the classified control room for Titan. Protocol, the activation sequence of Goliath. General Cole stepped beside him, grim and focused. "You're sure we're ready?" "We won't get another chance," Rourke replied. "If they launch that Council superweapon, Earth's gone. We hit first. We hit hard." "Target?" "Their war foundry, Council Forge Prime. General." Cole blinked. "You're serious?" "It's time they lose something big." Rourke pressed his palm to the scanner. "Activate Titan Protocol." Far across the stars, the Council Forge Prime floated like a beast in orbit, producing warships, weapons, and supplies non-stop. It was the backbone of the Council's military might, and it had no defenses of its own. Why would it? No one had ever threatened it until tonight. In the distance, Project Goliath emerged from warp. The Forge never saw it coming. Its sleek black hull shimmered as cloaking peeled back. Weapon ports opened, massive plasma lances, kinetic bombardment. Turrets and singularity cannons charged. Rourke's voice echoed through the ship. This is for Ramos. This is for the Ambassador. And this is for every insult you ever threw at Earth. He raised a hand. Fire. The first shot was the Singularity Spear, a beam of collapsed energy that tore through the Forge's hull like a blade through paper. Molten metal exploded. Outward. Internal fires spread. The Forge tried to activate defense drones, but Earth's ghost virus AI had already hijacked the system. The defense grid shut itself down. The second barrage came from Goliath's orbital kinetic cannons. Giant metal rods launched at high speed, no explosives, just raw force. They punched clean through 4 layers of Forge armor. Earth's fleet jumped in seconds later to finish the job. In less than 15 minutes, Forge Prime was gone. Not damaged, erased. The destruction rippled across the galaxy like a thunderclap. The Council's war machine had just lost its heart. On dozens of worlds, Council troops froze as emergency alerts blinked across their helmets. Forge Prime, destroyed. Casualties, total. At Council headquarters, total silence fell. One by one, representatives turned toward the Supreme Speaker. What now? They've crossed a line. They've ended a line, someone whispered. The speaker could barely speak. This isn't a war anymore. It's a reckoning. Back on Earth, crowds gathered in silence as the president gave a rare public broadcast. Today, the enemy felt what we have felt. Loss, pain, consequence. We never wanted war, but we will not run from it. To those who still stand with the Council, you have one choice: leave them or fall with them. Across the stars, smaller races began to make decisions. One after another, flags fell. The Dravari clans severed their alliance with the Council. The Santi nomads offered to trade military tech with Earth. The Raskari tribes launched a rebellion in Council space. Humanity wasn't just fighting anymore. They were inspiring. In the Vindicator's strategy room, Rourke stared at new intelligence. The Council superweapon, codenamed Sunbreaker, was still being built. They had weeks, maybe less. But the Forge's destruction would delay it, and that delay was everything. Sergeant Vega stood once again at the edge of battle, this time watching. A Council battleship drift helplessly in space. Dead systems, abandoned crew. "You ever think we'd get this far?" asked Ramirez. "I knew we'd fight," she replied. "But I didn't think we'd win." "We haven't yet," Ramirez muttered. "Then let's make sure we do." In the dark corners of space, the Council plotted their retaliation, but their fear was growing, because Earth had just proved something terrifying. They weren't just defending anymore. They were winning, and humanity had only just begun. The stars near the meridian line burned white and cold. Out here, near the edge of Sector 12, space was quiet. Too quiet. Commander Rourke stared at the tactical screen aboard the ESS Vindicator. Dots, red for enemy, blue for Earth, drifted across a 3D projection of space. A large red cluster blinked near the edge. Council fleet, 30 ships, led by warlord Zoth Kalar of the Skarn Dominion. They were coming fast, and they were aiming for Earth's key communications relay at Meridian Station. "ETA?" Rourke asked. 17 minutes, replied Lieutenant Marek. "No sign they've detected the decoys." Rourke nodded. "Then everything's going to plan." 50 light minutes away, Meridian Station stood empty. No civilians, no guards, not even auto turrets. The station drifted peacefully, its beacon pulsing like bait in the water. Because it was bait. Hidden in the asteroid fields nearby, Earth's Shadow Fleet waited. 8 stealth destroyers, 3 long-range missile carriers, and 1 command ship, the ESS Revenant, crewed entirely by Black Ops veterans. The Council fleet closed in, confident and aggressive. On board their command ship, Warlord. Zothkalar bellowed into his comms. "Take the station. Wipe the data. Send a message." His sub-commander looked cautious. "Sir, why is it undefended?" "Because the humans are running scared. This is their last weak gasp." They launched. 10 dropships screamed toward the station. That was the mistake. The moment the council troops entered the station, the doors sealed behind them. Lights shut off. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut. A voice echoed over the internal comms. "Welcome to Meridian Station." "You shouldn't have come." And then it exploded. High above, the Revenant dropped its cloak, missiles launched in tight formation. Not just explosives, smart torpedoes, programmed to seek out capital ship weak points. 2 Council destroyers were torn in half before they could even react. The rest scrambled to respond, but the asteroid field made maneuvering impossible. 1 ship struck a mine and vanished in flame. Another was swarmed by Earth's cloaked fighters, the Shade Wing, pilots trained to fly without radar, guided by instinct and AI whispers. Within 9 minutes, the battle was over. The Council fleet was shattered. Only 1 ship limped away, burning, broken, defeated. Rourke watched from the Vindicator as the last enemy signal vanished from the battle map. "Status? All hostiles neutralized," Merrick replied. "Casualties?" "0, sir, not a scratch." Rourke turned away from the screen and walked toward the observation deck. Earth was still weeks away, but the stars here seemed brighter. "They thought we were desperate," he said quietly. "They thought wrong." News of the Meridian trap spread like wildfire. Across neutral worlds and outer colonies, alien factions started asking hard questions. How is Earth doing this? How are they outthinking the Council at every turn? The truth was simple. Earth had adapted. They weren't just fighting stronger, they were fighting smarter. On a Council war station, Warlord Zothkalar was dragged before a tribunal. "You promised us victory," the judges roared. "You said Meridian would be an easy target. And now look, you've lost half your fleet." The warlord, beaten and humiliated, whispered the words Earth had been waiting to hear since the first insult. "We underestimated them." Back at Earth's moon base, Rourke stood with General Cole in the new tactical war theater, a massive real-time holographic room tracking every fleet, every strike, and every change in Council. Territory, a new icon blinked on the screen. "Council Fleet Beta is retreating." Cole grinned. "We're turning the tide. We're forcing them to react. They're not hunting us anymore. They're running." Rourke nodded but didn't smile. "They'll strike back. Hard, pride always does." "Then what's the next move?" Rourke stared at the map, then pointed to a blinking red planet near the galactic center. There, Veltrax Prime, one of their oldest strongholds. Fuel, weapons, history. Cole raised an eyebrow. "That's a bold hit." "It has to be." "Why?" Rourke turned. "Because after Meridian, they'll never see it coming." In the shadows of the stars, Earth's next move was already being prepared, and the Council had no idea how much further humanity was willing to go, not just to win, but to make them remember. The planet Veltrax Prime had stood for over 400 years. It was more than a stronghold. It was a symbol, a glittering capital of industry, science, and command. It built the Council's weapons, trained their elite. It had never been attacked. Never even threatened, until now. From deep space, cloaked in the corona of a red dwarf star, the ESS Vindicator waited. Inside, Commander Rourke watched the mission clock tick down. His officers stood silent around him, focused, prepared. "This is the deepest strike we've ever attempted," General Cole said. "You sure we're ready?" "They think we wouldn't dare," Rourke replied. "That's exactly why it will work." Operation Hammerlight was already in motion. Phase 1, Infiltration. Strike Team Phantom Blade, led by Sergeant Vega, dropped from high orbit in stealth pods. Camouflaged by atmospheric storms, they landed on Veltrax's outer shield generator compound. 20 commandos, all Black Ops. No backup. They moved like ghosts, silencers, EMP grenades, holographic decoys. Within 12 minutes, The first shield generator was down. By the time the second fell, the Vindicator was moving in fast, followed by Earth's Raptor-class bombardment. Ships. Phase 2. Psychological warfare. Just before the orbital strike, every screen on Veltrax lit up. A message. Simple, chilling. We remember Meridian. We remember the Ambassador. Now, remember us. Then the feed showed a live view from orbit, dozens of Earth's warships descending from the clouds, followed by fire. The bombardment was surgical. No civilian zones, just military targets, fuel depots, weapon plants, command towers, training centers. One after another, they exploded in pillars of light. Council defense batteries activated, but Earth's drone swarms overwhelmed them, jamming systems and crashing their networks. It was precision chaos. By the time the main spaceport was hit, the skies above Veltrax were filled with fire. In the planetary command bunker, panic ruled. How did they get here? We had triple-layer shields. They knew exactly where to strike. A single officer turned to the Council General with shaking hands. Sir, they're inside the base. The general paled. What? Sergeant Vega and her team emerged from the shadows inside the command bunker. Helmet visors gleamed. Earth says hello. 3 seconds later, the room was cleared. They planted charges, took the enemy's main war database, and vanished before reinforcements arrived. Above the planet, the Council's 7th Fleet jumped in, desperate to stop the assault. But the Vindicator was waiting. Hold fire, Rourke ordered. Let them see the damage. Let them understand. As the enemy fleet closed in, they got their first full view of Veltrax's surface, blackened craters, destroyed command towers, half their command center, gone. Rourke opened a channel. This is Earth. This is justice. Veltrax Prime is no longer yours. Withdraw or be next. The 7th Fleet hesitated, then turned, retreated. They hadn't come to fight. They'd come too late. Veltrax was already lost. In the aftermath, a signal spread through Council space, one they couldn't block, couldn't stop. It showed Earth's flag planted in the ruins of the command bunker, and one simple phrase burned into the stone beneath it. You made us remember. Now we'll make you regret. Back on Earth, crowds watched the footage in stunned silence. Then, cheering. For the first time, the galaxy had seen the unthinkable, a Council core world, taken, broken, and humanity, calm, disciplined, unrelenting, was responsible. In the Council's high chamber, cracks were forming. Allies walked out. Loyal members began to question leadership. The Supreme Speaker slammed his fist down. We are the galaxy's law. A soft voice replied from across the hall. Not anymore. Meanwhile, deep underground in Earth's hidden research base, a scientist turned to Rourke and whispered, We intercepted a data fragment from Veltrax. What did it say? It's about the Council's superweapon, Sunbreaker. Rourke's jaw tightened. Where is it? In development, 2 weeks from activation. Rourke didn't blink. Then we end this before it starts. Earth had shattered a symbol. Now it was time to destroy a nightmare. The stars over Arkina Station burned crimson. Hidden in the swirl of a dying nebula, the facility didn't appear on any map. It didn't broadcast signals. It didn't respond to hails, because it was never meant to be found. Here, deep in the dark, the Council was building something. Apocalyptic. Codename, Sunbreaker. A weapon said to harness the power of a star, not to destroy ships, but planets. One shot, one world, gone. Inside the ESS Vindicator, Commander Rourke stared at the black site coordinates on the screen. The data had come from Veltrax. Intel humanity was never meant to see. General Cole stepped forward, reading the file over his shoulder. Are we sure it's real? We have video, lab logs, engine schematics, even weapon tests on dead moons. And the timer? 13 days. Then they fire. Cole clenched his fists. Then we don't wait 13 days. Operation Eclipse Strike began in silence. This time there would be no warnings, no messages, no second chances. Sunbreaker had to be destroyed. The Mission was split into 3 teams. Team Orion, sabotage engineers, tasked with disabling the weapon core. Team Reaper, elite commandos, hitting the command tower. Team Null, Rourke's own hand-picked unit, tasked with planting a grav bomb at the station's fusion spine. As the Earth fleet approached Arcana Station under cloak, alarms suddenly triggered on Council frequencies. They'd been spotted. "They're jamming us," Vega shouted. "Security drones are locking onto our cloaks." "It's a trap," someone yelled. But Rourke remained calm. "No, they just underestimated how far we'd go. Again. All units, begin assault. We go loud." The Vindicator dropped out of stealth with a sonic boom, followed by Earth's Hammer-class cruisers and a wave of drone fighters. Laser fire lit up the nebula. Hundreds of drones swarmed Earth's fleet, but Earth had GhostNet AI now, fighter pilots connected to real-time predictive AI that guided their every move. They cut through the enemy like fire through dry grass. Meanwhile, on the surface of Arcana Station, the real battle began. Team Orion drilled through the blast doors of the Sunbreaker reactor room. Inside, they found the horror, a sphere of molten energy, chained by magnetic rings, crackling with stolen star power. "This isn't a weapon," whispered Dr. Zhang. "It's a sun in a cage." "Can we shut it down?" Vega asked. "Yes, but not without consequences. Do it anyway." High above, Team Reaper stormed the command tower. Each floor was packed with guards, Skarn warriors in powered armor. But Earth's commandos fought with precision and speed. EMP knives, adaptive body armor, pulse rifles built for close quarters. By the time they reached the top, the Council commander had barricaded himself in. Didn't matter. The wall came down in one blast. "This is for Earth," said Sergeant Ramos. One shot. Mission clear. In the reactor shaft, Team Null planted the grav bomb. Rourke himself set the timer. 10 minutes, he said. "That's not a lot of time to get out," Vega warned. "It's not meant to be." "Wait, what are you doing?" "Finishing this." Rourke locked the blast door behind him. "You and the others go. I'll make sure it detonates." Vega screamed at the comms, banged on the door. "You don't have to do this. You already won." "No," Rourke said calmly. "We win when they can't do this ever again." "This isn't revenge. It's insurance." The Earth fleet began to retreat, pulling back from the nebula's edge. On the surface of Arcana Station, Council troops fell into chaos. Turrets turned on each other. Power flickered, and in the center of it all, Rourke stood before the burning Sunbreaker core and watched the timer reach 0. The explosion tore through the nebula, a silent flash of white. Then nothing. No station. No Sunbreaker. Just stardust. Earth declared no victory. They made no speech. But the galaxy felt it. They destroyed the greatest threat the Council ever created, at the cost of their finest commander. General Cole stood before Earth's high command, jaw firm. "Commander Rourke made sure this war won't end in fire. Now it's up to us to make sure it ends on our terms." Across Council space, shock spread. The Supreme Speaker ordered an emergency lockdown. Alien factions that once laughed at Earth now began to fear them. Some even offered peace talks. Others prepared for surrender. But one last threat remained. One last enemy who refused to bow, and Earth was coming for them next. The Council was breaking. Veltrax had fallen. Sunbreaker was gone. Half their fleets were scattered or destroyed. But the war wasn't over. Not yet. Because the heart of it still lived, deep in the capital world of Zark Prime. The Supreme Speaker, the one who laughed at Earth's ambassador, the one who ordered the insults, the one who called humans barely sentient. Now, Earth was coming for him. High above the burned moons of the Exile Rift, Earth's shadow fleet regrouped. In the command chamber of the ESS Avenger, General Cole stood at the war table. The stars rotated slowly in the hollow map. Zark Prime is locked down. Triple planetary shields. Dozens of defense satellites. 2 full Council fleets guarding orbit. Major Tanaka scowled. "It's a fortress. That's what they want us to think." Cole replied. But fortresses don't scare us. Not anymore. Operation Final Echo was unlike any mission before. Not a fleet assault, not a planetary strike, a surgical decapitation. Objective: infiltrate Zark Prime, reach the Council Spire, extract or eliminate the Supreme Speaker. Execution time: 3 days. At a classified base on Titan, Strike Team Phantom Blade reassembled. Sergeant Vega returned, scarred from Arcana, but ready. No more symbols, no more warnings, she said. This ends with him. They suited up with polymorphic armor, tech stolen from Council prototypes and improved by Earth engineers. With stealth modules, DNA cloaking, and anti-psi shielding, they could bypass any scanner. And deep inside Zark Prime, one of their own, was already waiting, Operative Ash, a human sleeper agent, embedded for 5 years. Hours later, the infiltration began. Using a stolen Skarn diplomatic cruiser, Phantom Blade pierced the planetary shields. Council sensors read the ship as friendly. No alarms triggered. No intercepts launched. They slipped into orbit and dropped. The team landed in the Undercity, crowded, noisy, dangerous, but perfect for ghosts to move unseen. Operative Ash met them in a sealed tunnel beneath the spire. He's in the Hall of Command, Ash whispered. 6 guards, 2 automaton sentries, reinforced doors. And he never leaves. He thinks he's safe. Vega didn't blink. Then we'll change his mind. They breached the spire silently. Sentries dropped before they could scream. Guards hit the ground without drawing their weapons. Inside, the Supreme Speaker stood at his podium, speaking to a wall of hollow screens, until the room flickered, and he turned. Behind him stood Sergeant Vega, pulse gun raised. You remember Earth? You should. We remember you. He laughed at first. You won't shoot me. I am the Council's voice. It's will. You kill me, and you'll make yourselves monsters. Vega stepped closer. You already did that for us. Suddenly he reached for a hidden switch, but he was too slow. One clean shot to the leg. He dropped screaming. Vega holstered her weapon. You're not worth a martyr's death. You'll stand trial, and the galaxy will see what you really are. She looked to Ash. Call the Avenger. Packages secured. 10 hours later, the Supreme Speaker was paraded through Earth's intergalactic tribunal, chained and silenced. The images were broadcast across every screen in Council space. The galaxy watched, stunned, silent, and then, one by one, species began to stand with Earth. The rebellion had begun. Not just a human war anymore, a galactic uprising. In orbit above Earth, General Cole watched the last transmission fade. It's done. We brought the speaker to his knees. Admiral? Jane nodded. Now the Council will collapse. Cole stared at the stars. Let it. And from the ashes we'll build something better. The Supreme Speaker was gone, dragged through trial, exposed for war crimes, stripped of titles, silenced before the very council he once commanded. The trial wasn't just a reckoning, it was a signal. The old galaxy was over. For centuries, the council ruled through fear. They mocked the weak, used diplomacy as a weapon, and punished those who dared rise too fast. Earth was supposed to stay small, stay quiet, stay grateful. But Earth had remembered every insult, every betrayal. Every planet burned, every ambassador humiliated. And they struck back, with precision, not chaos, with unity, discipline, strategy. Now the galaxy looked to Earth, not with laughter, but with respect. On the moon of Kereth, in a neutral zone, the post-war assembly convened, not a council chamber, a new one, round table, equal seats. Earth at the head, but not above. General Cole stood with Admiral Jane and Sergeant Vega behind him. All wore black formal dress, no medals, no ego. Across from them sat new representatives, Skarn, Falari, Jatari, even old council loyalists who defected. There was fear in their eyes, but also something else, hope. We don't want an empire, Cole said calmly. We don't want to conquer you. But we will never bow again. If you want peace, work with us. If you want war, you won't survive it. Silence followed. Then a Falari diplomat stood. We once called humans savages, he said quietly. Now we call you something else. Leaders. Others nodded. One by one, species signed the Sol Accords, the beginning of a new alliance, not ruled by fear, but by justice. The United Frontier Coalition was born. Earth wasn't just back. It was building the future. Back on Earth, under the night sky, Sergeant Vega stood on a rooftop looking up. Beside her, a young cadet whispered, "Do you think we did the right thing?" Vega nodded slowly. "We didn't start this war, but we ended it, so others won't have to." The stars shone above. Quiet now. Watching. Far away, in the ruins of the council chamber on Zark Prime, vines grew through shattered stone. A statue of the Supreme Speaker lay broken on its side. Child, alien, small, ran past it laughing, chasing a drone toy. He didn't know what the statue once meant, and maybe that was a good thing, because this was a galaxy no longer ruled by the past. It belonged to the ones who remembered, and still chose to build something better. The end.